So now, as you can see, our page doesn't look good at all. Therefore, we need to add some designs to these elements in order to make our page look amazing and give the user the best possible user experience. So I'm going to head on over back to my project, and then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to here in the index, I'm going to add CSS. I'm going to be using CSS in order to add designs to this page. So what I'm going to do is that here I'm going to add CSS here in the head. In the head here, I'm going to add CSS. Let me just maximize this, and then here I'm going to add CSS by using the style tag in order just to show you, the both the HTML and also the CSS in the same place, and later you can move it to another file. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. So first of all, we need to give our body tag here some design. So the body is going to have a font family of, let's say, monospace, and you can change. And by the way, you don't have to follow all of these. You don't have to apply all of the design that I'm going to give you. It depends upon which design you want to apply to your elements. But I found that this is for me, it's the best design. I like that design, so I'm gonna apply that design. Let me now here add design to the chat box itself. So the chat box obviously is an ID. So I'm gonna say here chat box, and that chat box is going to have margin left of auto, and also margin right of auto. So margin right auto, and I'm gonna make the width only 40% because I don't want to display. Let me here add percent. I don't want the width to take the chatbot to take the complete width of the screen. I just want it to be 40%. And then I'm gonna also add a margin top, and that margin top, and the margin top is gonna be 50 px. So this is for the chat box. Now let's work on, here we have the bot text. Let's work on that. So I'm gonna add here dot and then bot text. And since this is a class, of course we need to add here dot. So the bot text, we want to add some designs to it. So I'm gonna say here bot text, and then let's change the font family to another font family. I'm gonna say here let's also use the monospace, and for the font size I'm gonna change the font size to be 16 px, and the text align left. I want to display the text that will be sent by the chatbot on the left of the screen. And I also want to add some line height. Line height is very important. I'm going to add a line height of 25 px, and I'm going to also change the color of that text to blue. I want blue color to that text. And this is for the bot text. Let's work now on the user input. So the user input is an ID. I'm gonna here use the user input, which is an ID. So for the user input, let's add here let's add a margin and also a width. Let's change the width and also the margin. So the margin, I'm gonna say that the margin left and margin right auto, because I want to give that user input an awesome design. So I'm gonna also add here margin right, also auto, and I want the width to be also to have the same width as, remember, as the chat box. We want them to have the same exact design. And then I'm gonna here also add a margin top of 50 px, and this is for the user input. Now let's work on the text input itself. So the text input is an ID. So I'm gonna say here text input, And the text input obviously is the text that the user is going to type. So I'm going to add for this text input, I'm going to add border to this text input, border button, and I'm going to say 3px, and then solid, and let's add some color, just a random color. And this is a gray color, a degree of the gray color. And the font family also, let's change the font family to the monospace. And the font size, I'm gonna change the font size to be 16, because it's very important to keep the font size the same for all of these inputs, because you want to kind of be consistent throughout your designs, and make all of the in terms of the font, it's very important to keep the font the same for the text that the user is going to type, and also the text that will be sent by the chatbot. So this is for the text input. Let's now work on the button input. And I'm going to add a padding to this button. Padding 5px, and I'm going to also change the font family to be also monospace. And finally, I'm going to add a font size. I'm going to change the font size to be 16 also, font size 16, as I told you, because we want to keep things consistent here. So now that we have all of these elements designed, let me save and let me head on over back to the browser. But before I do so, let me also add some designs to this H1, because we didn't add H1 here, we didn't add designs to this. So here let's add a let's center it. So I'm going to say text align, and then I'm going to center this H1, and I think we are done. Let me just save now, and let me head on over back to the browser to show you the result. So let me refresh, and now as you can see, let me zoom out, our chatbot looks much better. Of course, we need to work a little bit further on the design, because there is here it needs to be kind of pushed to the right a little. So I'm gonna change a little bit here in the design. Here I'm gonna change the user input here to, instead of 40, I'm gonna say here 80%, and I'm gonna center. I'm gonna say here text align center, text align center. And now let me save and let me refresh, and it should look much better. As you can see, now it's centered, and the message that is gonna be sent by the chatbot is gonna be displayed on the left side, as you can see. So it looks amazing.